Okay, my watercolor people, here is the color portion of this. So I flipped my color wheel over and I've already kind of started. So I'll just kind of pick up where I've started. I did yellow and I'm not going to come back to that. So I'm just going to stay within the red and then I'm going to do my orange slice. And so I'm going to show you how you do that. So on the color side, you have the pure color, you have 3 tints, and you have 3 shades, okay? And so I'm gonna finish out the red slice to show you what it looks like. And then on the orange, I'll probably do the pure color and then just the lightest tint and the darkest shade, right? So you can see where I've started the red. And I'm just kind of mixing in my paint palette. I do have paint paper over here, or the freezer paper, and I might just kind of go back and forth. So I had my red here. I started with my lightest tint, and then now I'm going to just keep adding red to this and hope that I have enough to fill up both of these squares. Ugh, and be careful, that's gonna show through now. So just be really careful and pay attention to what you're doing and don't do something like that. I've got some color, like I've got some pooling here, so I'm gonna kind of correct that first, and then I'm gonna go, okay? All right, so that pooling, I'm just taking my brush and drawing it out. And then just kind of dabbing. And then I might just add just a little water because I made that pretty intense. So this red and this yellow are straight out of the tube. No mixing whatsoever. All I did was just mix water to it to make it actual watercolor. So I'm gonna turn this just a little bit so it's a little easier for me to work with. Let me get my tissue here and clean up. Okay, so I'm gonna work kind of quick because I really need to get out of here. But anyway, so I'm gonna come over here, pick up just a little bit of this red, and be careful because that brush really soaks it up. I'm going to pick up some more water to add in here, so I might end up getting a little more transparent. I think I want to pick up just a touch more red. And then I want to see how that looks next to it. Okay. It's darker. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill. Fill that in. So again, you just really want to work on your brush control. And because I'm working these so close together, like time frame, where this tint above is still wet, I don't want these two colors to blend in with each other. So I'm just leaving a really thin white line between the two. I mean, it's pretty dry in some places, so I might be okay. So I'm just gonna get as close as I can. And then I kind of want to smooth this tint out as much as possible. Okay, then I'm going to come and pick up some more red. I don't want to do too much at one time. So I can get my third and final shade. Or excuse me, third and final tint. There we go. Now the red is still really wet, so I definitely want to make sure that I don't touch it. So what I'm going to do, hopefully my head isn't in the video, I'm just going to paint really, really, really close. Without actually painting into the red. The same for up here. So again, you're wanting to kind of get that flat wash that I talked about in the tints and shades, like black, just straight black and white portion. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting it just as close as I can. So if it's a little too close without it going into the next one. Okay, so now I'm gonna make some shades, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull that onto my freezer paper. So, you know, the problem with this freezer paper is it's kind of curling on me. I tried to roll it in the opposite direction so it would stop. Okay, so I'm gonna lay down some red, and that is really, really, really intense. Like, it really has a lot of pigment. And remember that watercolor is supposed to be more transparent, so I'm gonna add a lot more water to it. There we go. And then I can kind of squeeze that out. So that's the downside of mixing color with your brush rather than a paint palette or palette knife, is that it really soaks it up. Give me just a second here, trying to regroup and see what I need to do. Okay, so now I'm gonna do shades, and I gotta be really careful with this, and just, I mean, so I am barely gonna dip my brush into the black watercolor, and I'm just gonna start it nice and slow. So I'm just gonna keep kind of squeezing that out with my fingers, and like just, because these bristles just really like to soak up anything that it can get. Okay, so this is looking pretty good as far as a shade for like the next step down. I could go a touch darker, and I think I'm going to, so I'm gonna grab just a little bit more black. And like I said, these bristles in these brush really like to pick up that. There we go. Let's do more like that. Yeah. Okay, and see how dark that is? Like how much pigment, like you can't really see the paper through it. That is a lot. So I just went ahead and cleaned my brush off, and I'm just kind of going in there with just water now, and I'm just gonna spread that color around. I'm just gonna get really close to the red above it, and then I'm just gonna do a lot of lifting here. Because I have got some serious pooling going on. So I'm kind of drying my brush out. Really what I should do is just go straight in there with the tissue. Okay, kind of get a lot of that up. And then I can go back in with my brush to kind of correct that. Okay, all right, so pulled a lot of that. See, I get really nervous. I always think that I've grabbed way too much. Okay, so here's for my next shade. Again, that pigment is really, really dark, so I'm gonna kind of just wash my brush out and just start painting with water. I'm gonna go ahead and start lifting some so I have better control. There we go. That's better control there. Okay, and then now my last shade, and it should be pretty dark. Should be dark, but probably not that dark. See, that's what I'm talking about. So I always get nervous about just going too dark. So I'm gonna pull some more red, and I'm gonna pull some water in there since I've been talking about how it's been too dark every time. And then I'm gonna grab a smaller brush, like a really thin one. So if you don't have the right size brush, and those are about the same, I'm gonna go through and make this just a little darker. Here we go. So if you don't have a brush that's the right size, you are more than welcome. Ugh, I touched two. You guys see how that I touched one color to another, and you saw it like bleed into, and then so if I don't sever that connection and try and get it dried out, then it's just gonna bleed up into it that whole time. So now I kind of have to mix these, and I'm gonna have to wait for that to dry. So I can come down here, maybe. Okay, so you guys just kind of saw what happens when you get one color too close to another. Okay. All right, so there we go. So that's pretty much, you got from tints to shade. All right, so now I'm gonna show you how to mix a secondary color, and then you would go from there. And I might even just do real quick like a tertiary color, so you just kind of see how you would work that. So I'm gonna do orange, and I'm gonna use my freezer paper more. So I'm finding my orange slice, and let's see, I've got paint on my palette knife that I wasn't good about cleaning up. It's acrylic, so it might be stuck on there. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about paint intensity for just a second. So I'm using yellow and red to make orange. So between the two of them, red is much more intense than yellow. So with that means that I have to use a lot more yellow than red when I'm mixing this, because red is just so much more stronger. Okay, so I'm literally going to be starting off with just like the tiniest amount, because it's so much easier to start with just a little bit, add just a little. You can always come back and add more. Okay, so notice I'm using my palette knife for this, because when you mix with your brush, those bristles just really soak up the color, and then you can't really use it. Okay, so just a little bit of that red at a time. Okay, and I'm gonna stop there. Okay. All right, so that is a lot of pigment, and we need to add water to get it to the watercolor consistency that is correct, or that we, That is natural for watercolor. All right, so here I'm using dirty water. I should be using clean water. So here we go. All right, that's what we're looking for, like that. I don't know if any of that was in the video. Hopefully it should have been. Okay. So now I'm gonna find where my pure color is. This ring is pure color. So here's my orange slice. I'm gonna go ahead and fill that in. Okay, so there we go. I might grab just a little bit of water, kind of smooth that out, sort of. It's gonna pool a little bit, so I'm gonna dry my brush, and then I'm gonna come in and lift, add maybe just a little bit of water, and then kind of even that out, okay? So now what I wanna do is I wanna kind of section this up. So I'm gonna take some of this orange and plop it down over here. And then I'm gonna do that again, plop it down over there, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna create my tint. So I'm gonna come and grab some white, and I'm gonna plop it next to one of those orange piles. And I'm gonna pick up just a little bit of that orange. And I know I need to add a lot more water. I'm gonna erase out that O. And then I'm gonna put my tint down. I did that really fast. You guys should take your time on that a little bit more. Okay, now I'm gonna switch over to using my small brush, and I'm gonna grab some black. And I need a little bit more, so black and orange can get you some pretty good browns. Come in and add a little orange back to that. Or I might add a little bit of this dark to that orange. There we go. See, it's much easier to go dark to lighter. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add that in here with a little extra water. And then I'm gonna dry this brush and start lifting. Okay, there we go. And then I wanna come back and fill this color in more. So I waited for the color above it to dry, and then I can come in and finish that. Okay, and that's how you do it. Just really, that's really, really quick, okay? So, like, for example, if I, oh, yeah, now I wanted to do, like, a tertiary with you really fast, and so this is where I'm gonna take a little bit of this red, and I'm gonna add it into this orange. To make red orange, just like that. I need to add water to it because the pigment is really strong. And so now, and I'm gonna pick up a bigger brush so I'm not sitting here painting forever. All right, so you guys should be able to tell a pretty good difference. Now some of you might argue and say that this looks more orange than that. I guess it kind of depends on your overall perception. So I could add even more red to it. And make it a stronger pigment in total. And then I'm getting messy, so I'm kind of starting to blend one color into another. So then I'm going to come and pick some of that up, dry it off on my tissue. And then if I feel like this is too orangey yellow, what I can do is take a little of this and just do some remixing. Kind of something like that. And then I can repaint. Well, so both times I've kind of come up with that color. So that's what I'm kind of deeming as orange. Okay, then I can clean my brush, paint it, clean it off, dry it, I mean, then I can do my lifting. Okay, I'm kind of working a little too fast here, so I'm getting a little messier than what I would really like to see. Okay, all right guys, that's it. So I have this example up for you on the board, and you use it as you need. Ooh, that's got too much red in there. Yeah, sometimes you just need to learn to just leave it alone. Sometimes that's my biggest problem. Just leave it alone once you've got it. We'll come back to it later when you're not trying to rush. All right.